Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha. Sorry? Sit over there. Yeah. Facing the altar. Okay. Facing, yes. So where Divya usually sits, yes? Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Just give me a second. Just readjusting myself. Shri Radha Damodar ki jai, Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to try to speak something on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we're reading from, let's see, I've got it here. I've been given sharing privileges. Give me 1 second. Okay. Where are we? Okay. Canto 7, Chapter 4, Text 34. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. This chapter is entitled Hiranyakashipu Terrorizes the Universe. Yasmin mahad guna rajan grihyante kavibirmuhu nate duna pidiyante yata bhagavatishvare. Divya, what's the system? Is it that anyone else chants the verse, or is it only I chant the verse?
Others can chant.
Okay. I'll do it. I'll chant one more time. Okay. There's a big echo, so I'm going to ask for please mute. I'll chant it one more time and then open it up for others to chant. Yasmin mahad guna rajan grihyante kavibir muhu nate duna pidiyante yata bhagavatishvare. Please chant.
Yasmin mahad guna rajan kriyante kabibir mahu nate duna piti yante yata bhagavatishvare.
Yasmin Mahadgunarajan Kriyante Kavibirmuhu Nate Duna Pidiyante Yata Bhagavati Shware.
Any Vaishnavis who would like to chant, please? Okay, word for word. Yasmin, in whom Mahat Guna, exalted transcendental qualities, Rajan, O king, Grihyante, are glorified, Kavibi, by persons who are thoughtful and advanced in knowledge, Muhu, always, Na, not, Te, these, Aduna, today, Pidiyante, are obscured, Yata, just as, Bhagavati, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishware, the Supreme Controller. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. O King, Prahlad Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas, as all good qualities are always found existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They also exist forever in his devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. Purport. From authoritative scripture, it is learned that Prahlad Maharaj still lives in Vaikuntha Loka, as well as within this material world on the planet Sutala. This transcendental quality of existing simultaneously in different places is another qualification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Goloka eva nipasati akilatma bhuta. The Lord appears in the core of everyone's heart, yet he exists on his own planet, Goloka Vrindavan. A devotee acquires qualities almost the same as those of the Lord because of unalloyed devotional service. Ordinary living beings cannot be so qualified, but a devotee can be qualified like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not in full, but partially. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There's reference here to the exalted character, qualities of Prahlad Maharaj, because he's a pure devotee. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says in the 15th chapter, Mamai Vangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Mana Shashtan Indriyani Prakritistani Karshati. Krishna says that these living entities, us, in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. So that's what every living entity is, part and parcel of God. So similar qualities to God. In the Nectar of Devotion, it's described that out of 64 qualities of Krishna, the living entity possesses 50 of those qualities partially. Krishna has those 64 qualities unlimitedly, and then the living entity in their perfected state has 50 of the qualities partially. So our present existence, due to conditioned life, the living entities are struggling hard, very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. So every living entity in the material world is in a very downgraded condition. Although we might be proud Oh, I'm quite attractive, or I'm kind of clever, or I'm kind of funny, or I've got this ability, I'm able to do this quite nicely, or I'm pretty charming, or right, the list of nice qualities that in this material world everyone is proud of. But that's nothing. That's a tiny, dim reflection of what the living entity is in their liberated state. In our liberated state, in our perfected condition, we are not, as the Mayavadis, the impersonalists conclude, just a spark of light. How uninteresting that is. Not at all. The soul, in its perfected condition, is not just a spark of spiritual energy merged into the all-pervading energy. No, something infinitely greater than that, infinitely more glorious, has beauty that's indescribable. We, as souls, as pure souls, have beauty that's indescribable. Hmm. In this world, that beauty is temporal. Sometimes someone has some beauty, but it's flickering beauty. And it's relative. Relative to the other people in this world, someone might be very attractive. But as you go through the strata of the universe, you go to the higher planets, then suddenly the people on this planet aren't looking so beautiful. They're looking rather homely compared to the living entities who are living on the higher planets, even of this material universe. And then when you break through the covering of the universe and you come to the Vaikuntha planets, Sarupya Mukti, the living entities there have, some of them have forms which are similar to Vishnu, forms that are similar to Vishnu, but also they have free will. So in the service of the Lord, they have the ability to shapeshift. So for the pleasure of the Lord, they assume all different types of forms. This is described in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And it's described that sometimes, even for the pleasure of the Lord, they'll assume the forms which appear to be like forms of demons for particular pastimes. Of course, exactly what those demon forms look like is not described in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. But the point is that they have shape-shifting ability for the pleasure of the Lord, to serve the Lord's pastimes and serve the Lord's pleasure. And then if you go beyond that, you come to Ayodhya and then Dwarka, where the Dwarkavasis are more beautiful than the Vaikuntavasis. And then if you go to the highest abode, the abode of Krishna, Goloka Vrindavan, the residents there have beauty which is incomparable. I was sharing with Sarvatma Prabhu yesterday. We were chatting, and I was hearing a lecture from Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was describing the cowherd boys, how Krishna is there with the cowherd boys, and Krishna is beautifully decorated, beautifully adorned, and the cowherd boys also are beautifully decorated. He was describing the different decorations of the cowherd boys, how their faces are painted in different ways. And Prabhupada said, the cowherd boys, they are very, very beautiful. He said, they're so beautiful that it is sometimes difficult to distinguish who is a cowherd boy and who is Krishna. So that's the soul in its perfected condition, just in terms of that one quality of beauty, intelligence. In this world, people think, I'm pretty smart. And then you see someone who's smarter than you. Sometimes that happens where, well, it happens quite frequently, where listening to some class of a devotee, and the person is so smart, so able to convey the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in such an eloquent way, giving so many wonderful examples, bringing in uh, so many different viewpoints. And it's humbling. You think, oh, my God, I don't think I ever want to give class again after hearing this devotee present the philosophy. So in this world, people have varying degrees of intelligence. And even the most intelligent person is, unless they're a pure devotee, that's nothing compared to the intelligence of those in the spiritual world. So all the different qualities that are attractive, beauty, intelligence, humor, charm, musical ability in the spiritual world, our Sarvatma Prabhu will be pleased to know, no one is out of tune. Everyone knows how to play the kartals perfectly. Everyone has a voice which is indescribably beautiful. And this is the generosity of Krishna. The Krishna has no trace of any envy in his heart. The assets, the opulences, the qualities are are manifested in all of his devotees. It's not that Krishna is living in great opulence and his servants are living in, second-class accommodation. No, the whole abode is saturated with opulence, enjoyed by all who assume their natural position as loving servants of Krishna. But souls in this world have taken a detour, a very painful detour. We've decided, no, I don't like that idea. I don't want to be a servant of this most wonderful person, this person who is full of good qualities, who's kind beyond description, who's full of love. I don't like the idea of being that person's servant. I want to be the enjoyer. I want to be the master. I want to be the center. Fine. Here's the world for us, for those souls who don't want to participate in that joyful dance with Krishna, just like sparks of a fire, dancing in the fire, radiant, full of brilliance. And then if the spark decides, well, sparks don't decide, but if the spark could decide, nah, I don't want to be part of this fire, let me go about it on my own. So it jumps out of the fire. Then the spark's nature is covered. So that's life in the material world. Our glory, our qualities are covered. And what's going on? We're struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Hard struggle for existence, just to maintain with that anxiety. Everyone in the mature world is in such anxiety. Oh, how will I maintain myself? How will life go on? The children of God existing in a state of perpetual fear, anxiety. Even the rich people who have more than they need, they also have anxiety that the government will come after their wealth, or some catastrophe will happen, or the stock market will collapse, or whatever. And those fears are well-founded because of the instability of this life, of the instability of this world. This life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. Bayam dvitiya binivesh tasyad. So in the Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, the source, the root of that anxiety, the root of that insecurity is described. What's it based on? It's based on forgetfulness of Krishna. That's what it's based on. I'm in anxiety and fear because I don't know Krishna's there. Krishna, the supreme person, the supreme controller of everything. Not only that, but the better news is not that just Krishna is the supreme controller, but he's my most dear well-wisher. He wishes me well. He's behind me every step of the way. He's my protector. He's my maintainer. It's not that anything else is maintaining me. It's not that anyone else is maintaining me. Krishna is my maintainer. And that's the realization of an advanced Brahmana, or the realization of an advanced devotee. So they walk through this world without that stress that everyone else has. And that was Prahlad Maharaj. Talk about being put into difficult circumstances. Prahlad Maharaj, small boy, totally dependent on the parents. If a small boy is separated from the mother for a few minutes, the small boy goes into anxiety. But Prahlad Maharaj was a pure devotee. He was immersed. He was perfect because of remembrance of Krishna. The different devotees are appreciated, glorified, because they achieve perfection through the 9 different processes of bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. So Shravanam would have been Maharaj Parikshit. He achieved perfection just by hearing about Krishna. He was absorbed in hearing about Krishna. He achieved perfection. Shukadev Goswami is notable. He achieved perfection by speaking, glorifying. And Prahlad Maharaj, by remembering Krishna. He was immersed in Krishna. So he was going through the most trying circumstances, the most powerful person in the universe, the person who made the demigods tremble, not by pulling out a weapon, just by raising his eyebrow. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful. He would just raise his eyebrow and the demigods would become nervous. They would start trembling. Oh no, what's he going to do now? Am I in trouble? So this person decided, this is no son of mine. This, this person has sided with the enemy. Kill him. So he tried to kill him. He stuck the most ferocious looking, fearsome, nightmarish, demoniac, horrible looking creatures, demons, on Prahlad Maharaj. And they were terrorizing him and trying to kill him. And Prahlad Maharaj was just immersed in remembrance of Vishnu, and he was unfazed. He was completely protected, and he was fearless, absolutely fearless. Abhay, just like Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Charanaravinda. Why is he Abhay? Why? Because he's a great warrior, Kshatriya, going on the battlefield, fearless? No, he's truly Abhay Charanaravinda, because he's fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna. And as he walks through life, he knows Krishna is there. Krishna is always with me. He's in full awareness of that. And therefore, he can do something which is extraordinary. You know, no one does such a thing like that. At that age, crossing the ocean, no money, no proper resources, no proper plan. Prabhupada said, I didn't know whether to turn left or right. In Mayapur, one of my services was to give tours to people that come on boats. They go up and down the Ganga on a boat. These are people from Canada, America, Australia, South Africa, and they go up and down the Ganga and they stop at places of interest. So obviously Mayapur is a place of interest. So they'll stop, get off the boat, and I'll take them on a tour of the campus. And these people are typically between 60 years old and 75 years old, sometimes even older. And so I'm taking them on the tour of the, and then we go into Prabhupada's Samadhi. And part of the tour in Prabhupada's Samadhi is that I take them through Prabhupada's museum and I narrate the story of Prabhupada's life. And I explain how at the age of 70, 69, Prabhupada crossed the ocean in an ocean, on a cargo ship and landed in New York. And he had, 40 rupees, which was nothing. And he started, and someone, one of the people that I was narrating the story to, an elderly person, shook his head and said, Did you say he was 70 years old? 70? I said, yeah, 70. The person couldn't believe it because the person understands what it means to be 70, where an adventure is just, making your way around the house or maybe going out a little bit or doing something, but, making sure that your situation is always secure and predictable. But Prabhupada is Abhay Charanaravinda. He's fixed in realization that Krishna is my protector. So Prahlad Maharaj is also noted for having that quality. So the devotee, living entities in their perfected state, have these 50 qualities that Krishna has. Some of the notable qualities: Titikshava Karunika, Surida Sarva Dehinam, Ajata Shatrava Shanta, Sadhava Sadhu Bhushanam. These are the ornaments of a devotee described in Srimad Bhagavatam. The symptoms of a sadhu, of a purified soul. The sadhu is tolerant. That was Prahlad Maharaj, completely tolerant. Krishna is also tolerant. Krishna is so tolerant. Now, it's one thing if a person is helpless, right? And then some more powerful being comes and subjects us to something. And then we say, oh, I'm tolerant. I don't have a choice. I'm tolerating. Let me adjust my mind. Let me adjust myself and just say, okay, no way out of this. Let me just be tolerant. Let me not become, let me be as unfazed as possible. That's one thing. But Krishna, he's God. He doesn't have to be tolerant of anything. He has all the power to be intolerant, hmm, to zap anyone he wants. But Krishna is totally tolerant. In the case of Shishupal, he was very tolerant. He tolerated 100, was it 99 insults? And on the 100th insult, he hurled his chakra, decapitated Shishupal. But aside from that, Krishna tolerates the foolishness of his parts and parcels. You know, they've rejected him, they speak ill of him, they deny his existence, they exploit his material energy. Hmm? They have no gratitude for all the gifts he gives. And Krishna tolerates, 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 tolerates for unlimited lifetimes. Krishna tolerates. It's not as some religious people say that God gives you one chance and then God's tolerance is finished, right? That's what they say. God gives you one life, and at the end of that one life, if you didn't choose the right dogma, then God's tolerance has reached its limit, and God sends you into a state of eternal damnation. What a ridiculous, horrible, uh, slanderous conception of God. No, that's not God. That's someone else concocted by I don't know who. No, Krishna's unlimitedly tolerant. He tolerates and tolerates and tolerates. And then when the soul turns towards Krishna and says, you know what, I've suffered so much, I'd like to reconnect with Krishna. No bad feelings, no, no resentment, absolutely open arms, ready to receive the soul back. Yes, I'm right behind you. Come on, come home. So that's Krishna. So the devotee also has that quality of tolerance. The devotee always feels that I've come to this material world of my own accord, hmm, and I've created my own misfortune. So it's nothing surprising when I'm subjected to different types of circumstances, different types of painful experiences. The devotee frames those painful experiences in a certain way, which the ordinary materialist can't frame those experiences like that because we have knowledge. We know I've come to the material world. I've stepped on a lot of toes. I've caused a lot of pain, and I'm getting some reactions. And even those reactions that I'm getting, those reactions are Krishna's gift to me to help me become purified, help me to become detached from this material world, help me to become more sensitive to other living entities. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was saying, those who give us a hard time, they are our friends. And those who praise us, those who glorify us, they might be our friends, but that act of praising us, that act of glorifying us, well, that might not be so good for us. That might cause us, that might aggravate my ego, which is not such a favorable thing. There was one incident where this person who was extremely critical of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, very critical of him, he passed away. And the disciples were so happy. This guy who was criticizing our guru, he's passed away. The disciples were just elated. Finally, got rid of that guy. Thank you, Krishna. And they broke the news to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. This person has passed away. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was dejected and said, Gurudev, he was so critical of you. That person was my friend. His criticism of me was very good. It protected me from the disease of false ego. I'm paraphrasing, but that was his mood. That was his mood. So Prahlad Maharaj, certainly he exhibited this quality, not only of tolerance, he tolerated being tortured. But even after being tortured, he held no resentment. He held no revengeful spirit. He didn't say, thank you, Krishna. What's the word for when you rip someone apart? You bifurcate. That bifurcate could be a word, or tear the guts out. I forget the word. Thank you, Krishna, for dispensing of this demon who was terrorizing me. No, no, the opposite. The opposite. Prahlad Maharaj held no revengeful feelings towards Hiranyakashipu. The opposite. Nrsingadev said, after he was pacified, "My dear Prahlad, you please accept a benediction from me. Any benediction. I'll give it to you." Prahlad Maharaj said, "No, I'm not a merchant. I'm your servant. I'm the servant of your servants. I don't want any benediction from you." Nrsingadev said, "Please accept the benediction. If you want to give me any benediction at all, then the benediction I request is that you please forgive my father and you give him perfection." And Nrsingadev said, "It's already done. Because of his connection to you, your father is already liberated." So this is the nature of a devotee. The nature of a devotee is that the devotee is always, the nature of a pure soul is that just like Krishna, the devotee is always the well-wisher, even of those who are inimical towards him. If we might invoke the teachings of Jesus, what is your credit if you love those who love you? Even the taxpayer does the same. Even the tax collector does the same. Jesus imparted the instruction, love your enemy. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he took it, he also expressed the same sentiment, to wish the highest good for your worst enemy. This is the quality of a pure Vaishnava. So this is not the typical attitude of someone in this world. The attitude of someone in this world is that those who facilitate, those who nourish, those who enhance my enjoyment, my agenda, they are my friends. I wish them well. Those who are neither here nor there, I'm indifferent to them. And those that interfere with my agenda for happiness, for sense gratification, for progress, then they are my enemies, and I wish them harm. I hold bad feelings towards them. But this is not the attitude of a devotee, because the attitude of a devotee is lined up, is aligned with the attitude of Krishna, who remains ever the well-wisher of souls. If you examine Krishna's heart, then you only see love, nothing else. Krishna's incapable of not loving. That's the feeling he has in his heart. So even when he appears in the most fearsome form, the form that appears not so loving, right? When you show people a picture of Nrsingadev shredding Hiranyakashipu, people don't think, "Oh, there's the loving God." They think the opposite. They think there's a person who's totally angry. And what's the result of anger? The result of anger is not very nice. The result of anger is that people suffer. The result of anger is that the person who's inflicting the anger is polluted. But Krishna's anger is also founded in pure love. So the result of Krishna's embracing or the result of Krishna's killing is the same. The person is liberated. Anyone that Krishna kills is very, very fortunate. They become liberated. Why? Because that's the nature of Krishna. His heart is full of love. And so his devotees, they're on the same page as him. So even when they become angry, even when they curse someone, that curse is for the good of that soul that they're cursing. Just like Narada Muni, he saw the two sons of Kuvera misbehaving. They'd become bewildered by all of their wealth, by their opulence, by their beauty, by their circumstance. So they were indulging themselves in a way which was totally adharmic, bathing in the Ganga, the Mandakini Ganga in the heavenly planets, naked with beautiful girls singing songs with glasses of intoxication in their hand. Narada Muni came on the scene and said, "What is this? These boys have become so degraded. They took such a good birth, sons of Kuvera. That's an exalted birth. And see what's happened to them. And I'm in their presence, and they have no shameless. They don't even think, let me cover myself up." Even the girls thought, "Oh no, Narada Muni's here. Let's cover up. We're misbehaving." So they got a pass. So Narada Muni cursed him. But Narada Muni's curses, he's not good at cursing. Anything he does is always for the benefit of others. So he curses them. And what's the result of the curse? The result of the curse is that they become trees in the courtyard of Nanda Baba, and after some time, witnessing the pastimes of Krishna, then they see Krishna directly and they become perfected. So this is the result of Narada Muni's curse. This is the result of the anger of a devotee, a pure devotee. So the devotee is not only tolerant, but the devotee always maintains a merciful attitude, friendly to all living entities. Suhrida sarva dehinam. This is the quality of Krishna. Krishna is always the well-wishing friend of all living entities. And so the devotee also has that attitude of being a well-wisher of all. As Prabhupada signed his letters, your ever well-wisher. So this is not natural, not spontaneous for a conditioned soul. Conditioned souls are always discriminating on the basis of the body, because some bodies are very pleasing, some minds are very pleasing to us, and other bodies and minds, for different reasons, are not at all pleasing based on the modes of nature. I like this one, I don't like that one. I like this species, I don't like that species. And that's understandable because some living entities are not at all likable. In the material world, everyone is selfish in varying degrees, and that's not a likable quality. People are. Every soul in this world is typically infected by different bad qualities. So those bad qualities are not likable. But the devotee, the sadhu, looks beyond the externals. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihashtini shunni chaiva svapake cha pandita samadarshina. The devotee doesn't see the body. The devotee sees this is an eternal soul, part and parcel of my dear Lord Krishna. One who sees the soul and the super soul residing in every body does not degrade themselves by their mind. The devotee sees every living entity, regardless of the type of body they have. This is part and parcel of the Lord. And therefore, this soul is worthy of, I must respect this soul. And next to that soul is my worshipable Lord. So the devotee never takes the varying types of bodies so seriously. And with that attitude, the devotee is able to have a mood of compassion, a mood of respect for all living entities, and be the genuine well-wisher of all living entities. And typically, when someone has that attitude, he has no enemies. Typically, this world is so rotten that even a saint, sometimes people become inimical to a saint. But the tendency is there that it'll be quite typical that if someone is very pure-hearted, then people will appreciate that, just like the six Goswamis. Dira dira jana priya priyakaro sadda. Dira dira jana priya priyakaro nirmatsara pujito. The six Goswamis, everyone liked them. Everyone appreciated them. Why? Nirmatsara, because they were nirmatsara. They were free from envy. They held no animosity towards anyone, and everyone detected that. Oh, this person likes me. Prabhupada was once asked the question by his servant. Someone had just visited Prabhupada. It might have been someone's parents or someone like that. And Prabhupada was, charmed the parents. The parents had so much appreciation for Prabhupada. The parents or whoever it was left the room. And the devotee said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, everyone likes you so much. And Prabhupada said, yes, that is because I like everyone so much. So this is actually the mood of a devotee. The devotee has a well-wishing attitude towards everyone. And typically people appreciate that. And they think this is not someone that's how can I have bad feelings towards this saint? And we practically see that. We practically see that in the presence of a saintly person, people's best nature comes out. The lower nature which they might exhibit with me or with my friends or with others, that doesn't usually come out in the presence of a saint. In the presence of a saint, people's best qualities come out. Our best qualities come out when we're in the presence of a saint, just by their association. We think, yes, this is how I want to be. I'd like to be like this person. I'd like to be free from this great burden of conditioned consciousness. The sadhu abides by the scriptures because the scriptures are coming from Krishna. So the devotee, the sadhu, is always adherent to the direction which is given by Krishna in the scriptures, especially for the sake of setting an example. The sadhu might be above the scriptural rules and regulations, but for the sake of setting an example, the sadhu will still follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures. All their characteristics are sublime. So these are some of the qualities which were exhibited by Prahlad Maharaj. And these qualities, of course, are also there. Most of these qualities are also there in Krishna. Does anyone have any questions or reflections, any comments on the topics that we covered?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I would like to thank you for a wonderful class. I have questions. One question I have is, are you the same Taradas that was in Miami in the 1980s?
Yes, I joined Miami Beach.
Jai. Hare Krishna, I'm delighted to see you and hear from you. In this, excuse me, in this verse, in his purport, Srila Prabhupada is speaking about one particular characteristic of Prahlad Maharaj, which is extraordinary, the fact that he is able to be in more than one place simultaneously. That this is a quality of Krishna, which we see in many instances. And what Srila Prabhupada is describing is that for a devotee who is 100% absorbed in devotional service, that even extraordinary characteristics like the ability to be in more than one place simultaneously is not necessarily extraordinary. For a devotee, it may be quite ordinary. And Srila Prabhupada was, I don't know a lot of, especially extraordinary devotees, but Srila Prabhupada was certainly extraordinary. And there are many stories about him sometimes demonstrating some mystic opulence of some sort or other. But generally he would not do that. And so two questions. One is, are you aware of any instances of Srila Prabhupada manifesting some mystic opulence? And then the next question is, why would a great devotee choose to hide those characteristics?
One incident that comes to mind, I read it in the book about Prabhupada's biography when he was in Germany. And this is not like a great, grand, mystic opulence, but it's like a little glimpse. So the devotees were walking with Prabhupada on a morning walk, and one devotee, just in a loop in his mind, he was thinking, I wonder how much disease is caused by the mind. I wonder how much disease is caused by the mind. He just kept thinking this thing. Maybe I should ask Prabhupada. He didn't ask. And then Prabhupada stopped and looked over and said, 90% of all disease is caused by the mind. I think it was 90%. So at least that's a case of Prabhupada reading someone's mind. And certainly there's probably other incidents like that. besides that, I can't recall just right now at the moment other incidents where Prabhupada exhibited mystic opulences. Prabhupada sometimes was referred to the magic he performed, like mystic magic. I've converted these people who were previously like this, and I've converted them into Vaishnavas, following the standards of Vaishnav behavior. That is my miracle. So Prabhupada gave a lot more credence and a lot more importance to that type of magic or mystic opulence than just something which is that can be done by perhaps a yogi or even a very qualified magician. Why didn't Prabhupada exhibit more mystic opulence? I'm trying to recall whether Prabhupada shared something that, no, I can't think of an explanation Prabhupada gave why he didn't do that. Does anyone recall Prabhupada saying anything about that? Yeah. Sarvat Mapu, you have something to share?
He didn't need to.
Sarvat Mapu says Prabhupada didn't need to exhibit mystic opulence. Sometimes a great, powerful personality might exhibit mystic opulence just to instill faith in people. Like Jesus exhibited these mystic opulences to people in the Middle East, and they thought, oh, he's someone very special. But in the case of Prabhupada, Prabhupada convinced people by his presence, by his example, by his spiritual potency, and by his teachings. And so there was no need. That's Sarvat Mahaprabhu said, Prabhupada said, miracles are for ignorant people.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think that sometimes Srila Prabhupada was reluctant to demonstrate some of his extraordinary capabilities because it would tend to become a distraction for devotees, that they would become attracted to him for those qualities rather than pure devotional service, and they might also make the mistake of directing their efforts towards achieving such abilities rather than simply cultivating pure devotional service.
Great point. Cheap what type of tricks? Parlor tricks. Yeah. While Prabhupada was on the planet, and even now, there's these, so-called gurus, and what's their claim to fame? Not their teachings, not their purity, but the fact that they're able to do what Sarvat Mahaprabhu just said, Prabhupada said, were cheap parlor tricks, manifesting some gold or some ashes or blah, blah, blah. So Prabhupada certainly, as a pure devotee, had mystic powers, but he didn't exhibit those because he was showing this is the symptoms of a genuine guru. Genuine guru is the one who repeats the message of Krishna and who lives a pure life. These are the real symptoms to look for. So, any other questions or
Hare
reflections?
Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so very much for your wonderful class. Regarding Srila Prabhupada's mystical power, I would say that, like you are mentioning about the yogis and the magicians, they can do this all mystical presentation while they are present in their physical body. So they can perform this magic when they are physically present. But we can see that though Srila Prabhupada is not physically available on this planet, but through his instructions, his books, his disciple, the world, the whole world is flooded with the Harinam. I think this is more than a yogi or any magician can do. This is a one kind of a magic Prabhupada has produced for the entire universe.
Hmm. Yeah, nice point. Thank you for that. What is the value of other people's magic? This is the real value, is to transform people's hearts and help them to progress back to the spiritual world. Yes, Taraka Prabhu.
No, that's there's someone else there. iPhone. I don't know who that is.
So, the person who has the title iPhone, do you have a question or some reflection you'd like to share?
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for the nice class. It was very inspiring. And there's a lot of really nice points shared. I really appreciate the points you're sharing about Prahlad Maharaj's qualities, how he's so forgiving and he doesn't have like the nature of the sadhu or the saint is that they don't really like have an enemy and they see everybody as like a part and parcel of Krishna. And I was wondering um for someone who's aspiring for that but still stuck in sort of like the material modes of this person did that and I'm like this and having identifications that we deal with, how can we develop those qualities where we just see like, okay, this person, they're a part of Krishna and therefore I respect them and I love them as though they have Krishna inside them? How can we develop that vision?
Well, one thing is we have to be reminded about it on a daily basis. So if we're reading Prabhupada's books regularly, daily, then constantly we're being reminded about all the things we need to be reminded about, because our nature is to be forgetful, and then these concepts become a little bit buried somewhere in the back of our brain, and then we fail to apply them in our lives. But if we're constantly being reminded, then that helps us to keep our focus on what our purpose is. Our purpose is to become pure devotees, to become fit, to be residents of Goloka Vrindavan. So that's one thing, is to constantly be reminded by hearing from the scriptures, by hearing from sadhus. That helps, especially to hear from sadhus who are embodying these qualities, embodying this approach to life. That is also very powerful. And then we actively practice, we cultivate actively that muscle of seeing the world properly, seeing other living entities properly, seeing circumstances properly. So what I do, and of course I'm, probably 11% enlightened, I think, so far, but as I'm walking through life, for example, in Mayapur, as I'm walking from my house to the temple, there's all different types of people passing me. And the tendency of the mind is to be judgmental towards some people and to think other people are pleasing, or other people have a pleasant vibration and other people are, loud and noisy and obnoxious. And I just actively force myself to think in a different way. I actively force myself to try to see that there's a soul here inside of a body and that mind and that nature is that external nature is temporary. And as we're trying to do that, as we're trying to see the world and other living entities through the eyes of scripture, well, we're putting out a message to Krishna that this is how I want to see the world. This is how I want to see other living entities. This is how I want to be. And Krishna responds to everyone's desires. He responds to the desires of the materialists, and even more so, he responds to the desires of the devotees, especially those type of desires. So as we're cultivating or exercising that muscle, so to speak, well, Krishna will help us. And then the thing which initially seems artificial, it really feels artificial. It's not artificial. It's totally natural for the soul to see in this way, to act in this way, to act as a pure soul. It feels artificial in the beginning. As we practice that, then it becomes less artificial and Krishna helps us. And Another thing which helps is to practice Krishna consciousness as nicely as possible. And because then we're in our best state of consciousness. When we're in our best state of consciousness, then we're able to exhibit Vaishnava qualities much more. Because there can be the theoretical understanding, like, here's a circumstance. I understand how I'm supposed to respond to this circumstance theoretically. But right now, I had lousy sadhana, I'm in a bad mood, and even if I know how I'm supposed to respond, I say, I don't care. I'm angry right now. And I just follow my lower nature. So it really helps to be happy in Krishna consciousness, the happiness which comes from strong sadhana. And from that platform, we're able to be more tolerant, forgiving, compassionate, see things properly. So these are a few thoughts about how to progress towards that goal of having sadhu-like qualities.
Jai, thank you so much, Prabhu. That was highly enlightening.
It is now 8 o'clock, so unless someone has a very brief final comment, then I think we'll close the class. Thank you all so much for your kind attention, for giving me the chance to try to speak about the Bhagavatam, and for your association. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.